In 1889, Fusahiro Yamauchi had a dream. It was surprisingly simple: to own a playing card shop. At that time in Japan, playing cards were banned by the government in order to prevent gambling. However, Yamauchi received special permission from the state to develop and sell his cards on the basis that his unique hand-painted product was fun and educational. While many believed that Yamauchi had sincere intentions, there were some that bet against him, or not, because that was illegal. Nevertheless, Yamauchi evolved his enterprise. A playing card shop evolved into a toy company, and eventually, a toy company became the video game juggernaut, known today as the Nintendo Company. While over a century has passed since the company's inception, they still find a way to harken back to their founder's original dream while being so much more than an institution for gamers. According to Forbes on July 6, 2016, Nintendo is Japan's third largest company, the world's 60th most valuable brand, and is one of the few international corporations to be simultaneously influencing the development of food, education, computer software, electronics, and weapons development. Barron's, on August 21st, 2016, argues that Nintendo has helped emerging electronics, but has also fundamentally changed the way we think and interact. We must gain a better understanding of how Nintendo got to where it is today and where it is going tomorrow. So let us first understand the history of the Nintendo Company. Second, examine its effects. And finally, look at the future implications of what I once knew as regular Nintendo, only to find out that it was truly super. Like any entrepreneur, Fusahiro Yamauchi had many ideas and many failures. Before video games or cards, Yamauchi invested in taxicabs, candy wrapper manufacturing, and love hotels, which are exactly what you think they are. In order to understand how these questionable ideas could precede something so great, we must understand the history of the Nintendo Corporation. By the early 20th century, Fusahiro Yamauchi's fortune was mainly comprised of card and board games, but it was his grandson, Hiroshi Yamauchi, that would take the company to the next level. Hiroshi took the helm in 1949 at the qualified age of 22, and while the economic status of Japan post-World War II was shaky at best, Hiroshi seized the opportunity. Hiroshi developed and sold Hanafuda playing cards, which are similar to traditional decks of cards that we use here in the States, only with additional math and logic elements. These cards were so cheap, they became a staple of every Japanese household post-Hiroshima and Nagasaki. New Scientist, on August 21st, 2016, argues that Hiroshi and Nintendo can be accredited with providing Japan a foundation to excel in the fields of math and science. Over time, these cards would be implemented into educational curriculum all across East Asia. And to this day, Nintendo continues to develop similar education tools, but with a separate property: Tetris. By the late 20th century, Nintendo was shifting towards the newly emerging genre of video games. The Nintendo Entertainment System put home console gaming on the map, highlighted by games like Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and even a gorilla, inexplicably named Donkey Kong. Part of the company's new identity was the creation of a cutting-edge technological software operation, where Wired, of February 4th, 2016, argues that Nintendo was responsible for the creation of the auxiliary port, home microwaves, high-powered microscopes, and even the first form of modern laser used by the Japanese military. While Nintendo's success has always been defined by its achievements in tech, they couldn't help but stay true to their roots. Because in the mid-1990s, Nintendo funded a small playing card company, which eventually would be known as the Pokemon Company. The previously cited Forbes article argues that this investment, and not any of their achievements in tech, is their most valuable asset. And it isn't even close. At the end of the Rio Olympics, we were given a preview of the 2020 Games in Tokyo. Featured was Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, dressed as Nintendo's own Super Mario. CNN on August 31st, 2016 notes that the mere appearance of the iconic plumber was enough to boost Nintendo's stock 3%. In order to quantify how one Italian plumber can affect the global market, we will analyze Nintendo by way of two effects. First, the creation of modern gaming. And second, the reinforcement of the tech economy. First, Nintendo is changing what it means to be a gamer. According to BBC on February 14th, 2016, Nintendo's gaming experiences have become integrated in cultures around the world and actually make a difference. They point to a way of three examples. First, Tetris and Snake, games originally developed by Nintendo, are used to treat autism. The Legend of Zelda and Super Smash Bros. Franchises aren't just creative sources, but help sharpen IQ and motor skills. But most importantly, the Wii has lowered depression in older patients and has actually brought back balance and mobility to those with Parkinson's. There are plenty of games with little substance. Perhaps Grand Theft Auto is one of them, but in the end, Nintendo has shown that gaming can have value. Second, Nintendo has gamed the economy. According to The Economist on November 8th, 2016, Nintendo, Sony, and Toshiba have worked in tandem over the years to build up a formidable tech bubble inside of Japan. But what sets Nintendo as unique is their ability to produce a profitable product line with low overhead. The company's highly concentrated wealth and minimal overall workforce have set the company, as according to the Japanese government and many more, as a very innovative one, but is an economic giant that complicates tech systems, can hurt the middle class, and can ultimately be responsible for part of the country's economic crash in 1990. Japanese programmer Satoru Iwata worked his way from the bottom to the top, becoming a CEO of the company for a majority of the 21st century. Before losing his battle to cancer in 2015, Iwata urged the company to continue to broaden the appeal of its innovative goals. Clearly, Nintendo presents major implications. First, the augmentation of human interaction. And second, the reinforcement of the tech economy. But first, Nintendo is changing the way people interact and view their communities. According to BBC on February 13th, 2016, the creation of Nintendo's Pokemon Go is based on the basic human functions of collecting and sorting, no different than a baseball card collection or anything else you may want. But what sets this as unique is the increased demand for real connections, and a tool that makes that immediately possible. Anyone that's played the game knows that there's this unique interactive community evolving before our very eyes. And Nintendo does not take that for granted, because the company's investment in person-to-person interactions within their innovations will not only continue to augment the way that we view the world, but also worlds that we can imagine. But second, Nintendo is shifting the role of digital experience. Nintendo isn't the only electronics company to try and get people moving or stimulate the brain. But according to The Economist on November 7th, 2016, they're the only company that regards their games as treatment and actively seek for new ways to measure impact. Nintendo continues to believe that the gaming world that they have created is inherently cerebral. So maybe the next step in innovation is seeing how the digital experience will continue to strengthen and link to our brains. Maybe the next step is seeing how our brains react to what we have already created. Nintendo, when translated from Japanese to English, means leave luck to heaven. And if this were an impromptu speech, I'd probably be talking about the way that we should control our own destiny. But this is still extremely relevant to Nintendo's legacy. After looking at the history of the company, examining its effects, and finally future implications, we saw that when Fusahiro Yamauchi began his company 127 years ago, he didn't know what he was doing. But the company has never looked back. Besides, if Nintendo can teach us anything, it's that you can't beat the game if you don't get to the next level.